We'll call the meeting to order. Want to welcome everyone. Good morning to you. Hope everyone's doing fine today. Excellent attendance in our board meeting at this time. Before we actually go into our approval of the agenda, I want to pause and see if any member wishes to make comments. Anyone has any words this day? Okay, very good. So we'll move right into to our business for this morning. The agenda is in front of you. Is there a motion that we approve the agenda?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the agenda has been adopted. Our next item of business is the adoption of our minutes from August the 2nd, our regular board meeting. You've also been emailed those. I'm sure you've looked over those. Are there any corrections or amendments to those minutes? If not, is there a motion we adopt?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, those minutes have been adopted as well. I don't think we have any old business or unfinished business. We do have some new business before us, a handful of amendments, rule changes, as well as policies. I guess we'll take those rule changes first. So we'll yield to LaCondra Smith, our board's attorney, to bring those changes before the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members of the board. I bring to you this morning proposed amendments to 3 different board rules. 2 are just cleanup. 1 is directly the result of some legislation that passed this past session. So I wanted to get that information out to you all so we can go ahead and make these amended changes. The first rule is Board Rule 475-1-.01, paragraph 4. The word or phrases that I have stricken is the language that I recommend we delete, and what's underlined I recommend we add. The reason for the first strike is because the word offices after headquarters is redundant and unnecessary. The next phrase, at field offices located throughout the state, we no longer have any field offices, so my recommendation is to delete that and replace it with the board's website as an alternative location for the public to obtain information or more information about the board.
Okay, just for those who may be visiting today, and the differences between, at least the technical differences between rule changes and policy changes, is that rule changes does require public opinion, and I understand that these are provisional votes at this time, and these will be placed out on our website and wherever notification else would be given for the public to make comments prior to our next board meeting, where we would actually adopt or deny those rules if they'd be in order. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Any questions? Is there a motion that we provisionally adopt?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Hearing none, that has been adopted. You have a second rule change as well. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The second rule is 475-2-.01, paragraph 2. What I'm recommending is that the language regarding supervision by board staff be deleted, as offenders are no longer supervised by board staff, and replace that language with under board ordered supervision, so that the rule would read, the board may require offenders granted executive clemency to pay a supervision fee of $30 for each month that the offender is under board ordered supervision. As you all are aware, parolees are now being supervised by the Department of Community Supervision, and so are probationers who are under court-ordered supervision. So that is the reason I'm recommending that court-ordered supervision be placed in that particular paragraph.
Okay, so this also is a rule change, so this is a provisional vote, and we're not changing the fee. The fee of $30 is already board rule. We're actually just changing or removing supervised or removing supervised by the board staff and adding under board order of supervision clarification of form. Any questions? Is there a motion that we adopt?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, provisionally adopted. Okay. You have a third one, I believe.
Yes, sir. This is a little more verbose. Board Rule 475-3-.05 pertains to parole consideration. This past legislative session, the General Assembly adopted or passed House Bill 367, making certain offenders who were not eligible for parole because of their recidivist status eligible for parole consideration after serving a certain number of years and meeting certain static and dynamic conditions. The year before, they did the same thing with a different group of offenders, and the board amended this rule to require that those offenders apply for consideration as opposed to being automatically considered like others who were eligible for parole from the outset. So I'm recommending in this rule that we also make that part of this rule, that these new offenders who will become or could become parole eligible, notwithstanding their recidivist status, also apply when they become eligible for consideration. And that would impact those sentenced under 16-1330, which is the drug statute, who are sentenced pursuant to subsection C, E, and L. Last year we amended by including subsection D in the
So let me make sure. I think I know the answer to this question. So actually what we're doing is what's already in code, we're actually putting in our rules. Is that correct?
Not quite. The code makes them eligible for parole. It's just how they get considered is what we are saying, how they're going to get considered. They have to apply. Generally, an offender who is otherwise parole eligible or from the outset, parole consideration is automatic.
So it's in the application. The state statute is silent on applications, and so we're now setting forth in rule, if this is adopted, how that we actually will bring those recidivists before the board through application only. Any other questions from the members? Once again, this is a rule, and what we will be doing is provisionally adopting and setting it out for 30 days public comments. Is there a motion that we adopt?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Here's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hearing no nays. That's Board Rule 4753051 has been provisionally adopted. Does that conclude your rules?
Yes, sir. That's the conclusion of my presentation.
Very good. Thank you. The next item would be actual policy changes. Chris Kimner will bring those before the board at this time. Good morning, Chris. Let's see if I've got these in order here in front of me. I think that your first policy change is policy 1.117. This is concerning citizens' complaint regarding board employees. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Correct. Board policy 1.117. The only change to this is the Office of Investigations and Compliance has now been changed to its current title of the Office of Internal Affairs. That's throughout the policy.
So you're changing the name.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Here's a motion that we adopt.
So moved.
There's a
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Our next policy is policy 2.103, location recovery at disposition of absconders.
Yes, sir. In board policy 2.103, the term of field operations has been changed to field services throughout policy as a result of the split between DCS and parole, as well as in section 1.106, the reference to the procedure manual has now been updated from chapter 3 of the field operation manual to chapter 2 of the board operations manual.
Okay. Any questions from the members? If not, is there a motion that we adopt?
Move to adopt.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
The ayes have it. Third policy, reporting violations, which is policy number 2.104.
Yes, sir. Regarding board policy 2.104, reporting violations, the recommendation is to repeal this policy in its entirety as this concerns field supervision.
This is a repeal of the policy. Any questions? There are none. Is there a motion to adopt?
Move to adopt.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
The ayes have it. And the next policy revision is cooperation with law enforcement, which is found in board policy number 2.105.
Yes, sir. Board policy 2.105, cooperation with law enforcement. Again, the term of field operations has been changed to field services for that policy. In section 1.103 regarding applicability, terminology has been changed from field operations to the board, so this policy would apply to all employees, as we no longer have a field operations unit. In section 1.105.1, term field operations was replaced with agency for the same reason, as well as in section 1.106.2, again, the reference to procedure manual has now been updated to chapter 2 of the board operations manual.
So it's simply a name change. The policy for drug testing has always been the same. We're just changing it because of the split, or is there something different?
We're not at the drug testing.
Oh, okay. That's my next one. All right. That was with the Corporation of Law Enforcement Agency. I saw the
correct.
puzzle on your face. All right. Is there a motion that we adopt?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Policy board number 2.105, cooperation with law enforcement, has been adopted. Now, on my next page, board policy 2.135, dealing with releasee drug testing.
Yes, sir. Regarding board policy 2.135, releasing drug testing, recommendations to repeal this policy in its entirety as this concerns an aspect of field supervision.
All right. So this is a repeal. Is there a motion to adopt?
Move to adopt.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Releasing drug testing has been repealed. Board policy 4.102, reconsideration after revocation.
Board policy 4.102, reconsideration after revocation. Field services has been added to clemency in the heading of this policy to also fall under field services. Also in section 1.104.2, two types of violations were added, criminal offense or technical. That's the exact terminology. A sentence in that same section was also removed for clarification purposes. And the terminology of revoked to general prison population was added to make the final sentence to be more cohesive. And finally, in that policy section 1.104.3, the term parole officer has been replaced with the correct term of community supervision officer.
Any questions? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board?
Move to adopt.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Reconsideration after revocation has been adopted. I think our final policy change would be board policy 4.103, mental health evaluations.
Board policy 4.103, mental health evaluations, regarding the official code of Georgia annotated 42-9-43, that's been updated to the specific paragraph, more specific, I think it's A2. That's when referring to laws pertaining to psychological reports for use by the Parole Authority. And also in section 1.102 of that policy under purpose, the terminology is added to read the provision of psychological information by. That was added for clarity purposes.
Any questions? What's the pleasure of the board?
We don't.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Board policy 4.103, mental health evaluations, has been adopted. Thank you. Our next order of business is our director's report. Director Barnett.
Well, good morning.
Morning.
I can't help but notice, but we have a lot of people dressed in black today, and I can only think that's to mourn the loss of Georgia this weekend to Tennessee. But there is light. We're going into Carolina this weekend. I feel confident we're going to come away with a W. So keep the faith, if you will. Board, thank you for allowing me to be here today. For the director's report, I would like to open up with just a couple of comments, and then turn it over to our divisional directors for updates, and then finish up with some additional comments after that. I would like to recognize the governor's law enforcement initiative that was rolled out September the 8th. This initiative will provide more than 3,300 state law enforcement officers with a 20% pay increase come January. I'm proud to say that 36 of our current post-certified officers are on that list to receive that 20% increase. Well deserved. They work hard for the board and for the state of Georgia and do everything they can to enhance public safety throughout the state. Well deserved. Along with the pay raise, this initiative will enhance the training requirements for all state law enforcement officers to include courses on de-escalation techniques, as well as the importance of building positive community relations throughout the state. Additionally, it provides crisis intervention training to all post-certified law enforcement officers, and that provides the officers with the skills and techniques to address a situation involving someone suffering with a mental illness and how to de-escalate and handle that situation. I applaud the governor and provide him his support. I hope it continues through the session unchanged, and we can see that come to fruition for our officers. Governor Deal's announcement of this initiative also marked the beginning of our budget process with the state. I will tell the board that we have submitted our amended FY17 budget as well as our FY18 budget. Both budgets were submitted flat, meaning that we did not make any additional requests for any additional funding. Our current funding level is $16,452,212, and that's what we maintain for FY17, amended FY17 and FY18. The Office of Planning and Budgeting has reviewed our budget, have reviewed what we have accomplished over the last year through internal efficiency enhancements, and has proposed to the governor's office that we be granted 2 additional hearing examiner positions in our current budget. But that will be presented by the Office of Planning and Budgeting, not by us. So we are hopeful that that will make it into the governor's budget and be presented this legislative cycle, and will be met with positive look. At this time, I'd ask for the divisional update, director's update, and we'll start with Bubba Williams, the director of clemency.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
Board. Just for anybody who's here who does not know, the clemency division usually hovers around about 100 employees, and which is our most valuable asset. During these meetings, we'd like to recognize some of our employees because they do a wonderful job. We try to give y'all an exceptional product, do our best to, and I want to recognize a couple of our new employees. May Snelling, Shamika Johnson. These are 2 newest people with our CONS team. That stands for Clemency Online Navigation System. We're glad to have y'all. We appreciate you. We'd like to show y'all to the board and let everybody know you're with us now. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Next person I'd like to introduce, she was with us for a number of years previously and decided to leave us. We've forgiven her since. She's decided to come back. We're glad to have her, Mandy Kimber. She is our newest hearing examiner. And she's back and we're glad to have her.
Right. Excellent.
Anything you'd like to say more?
I'm glad to be back home. Thank you.
Well, welcome back home. We're glad to have you.
Promise never to leave again. All right. Good.
Yeah, I think she's a believer now. Crystal, you can stand up. Crystal just attended our domestic violence conference in Jekyll Island, continuing her senior HE status of trying to improve her skills. Me and her was talking about it this morning. It was a good experience. She brings back a lot of good information with her.
Let me mention while you're mentioning Commission on Family Violence that also a couple board members were there with Crystal as well, and we had Victim Services. They had several members there as well to help in that conference.
That's right. There was quite a number of people there receiving good information. And victims are one of our major priorities, and we try to make sure that our people are very well trained in victims' issues.
This was an annual conference that was represented by over 500 people throughout the state that came to learn. And this was the first time the Victim Services actually had a booth, so they actually provide a lot of help as well. We appreciate Shalanda and her team for what you did there. So sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. Appreciate it. Lisa Copeland. We attended, a number of us attended the APPA conference in Cleveland, Ohio, and Lisa was a graduate from the, and I'm reading it off her certificate here, the Leadership Institute of the American Probation and Parole Association. We watched her graduate and get her diploma. We were all proud. Almost started crying. But, all joking aside, it's a very distinguished achievement, and she's been working on it for quite a while now. And Lisa is one of our senior hearing examiners, just like Crystal. And again, we're trying our best to make sure we're where we need to be to improve our skills to deliver a good product to you board members. Carol Deems and Scott, stand up. I want to recognize y'all. These are two assistant directors, and they do a fine job. They do a lot. They really do. They come with a vast amount of knowledge, and I appreciate both of them. Just want to recognize y'all. And that's all I have, fortunately for y'all. Unless you have any questions.
Any questions?
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bubba. And we all know Scott and Carol does a lot, because, you know, they got to watch out for Bubba.
Amen.
But welcome to the board. Welcome back to the board. Crystal, thanks for all that you do. And Lisa, congratulations on graduating. Bubba said that she had been working on it for a while. That is a year-long program, and she represented us very well. Great job. At this time, I would ask Rick Jacobs, the Division Director of Field Services, to come up and give us his operational update.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and board members.
Good morning.
Appreciate this time. I want to first acknowledge you and say how much we appreciate your leadership and guidance, and really kept us on track as far as really re-engineering from a field operations division to a field services division. And to be honest with you, and I was talking with, matter of fact, I want both of our, Ms. Felicia, stand up if you would, please. This is our Deputy Director right here of Field Services, Ms. Felicia Holloway, does an outstanding job. She's the brains behind all this operation. I'll go ahead and acknowledge that. Ms. Jenna, stand on up. If you don't know Ms. Jenna, the Queen James, you do now. I'm going to introduce her right here. We're so proud of her. She is our admin ops manager, and she is like really the real steam behind this engine right here that's working behind the scenes to make everything happen. She recently, I want to just kind of recognize her for this, was selected to sit on the assessor's board in Chatham County Sheriff's Office, for effect only. Chatham County Sheriff's Office to select a leadership position. She sat on that board with them and assisted them, and we got nothing but high compliments about her. So we want to thank her for her participation in that. Thank you, Ms. Jenna. Thank you, Ms. Felicia. Great job there. Several things that I'd like to do. One of the things I want to do while I got this on me right here is, and you're going to see this as board members, this is our what we call our new final hearing red book. This came about as a result of, we clearly recognize that we have evolved into a larger team of district operations managers, which work very closely with you as board members in assisting and managing and overseeing and supporting you in conducting final revocation hearings. The one thing I would hear when I would get feedback, whether it be from Mr. Cotton or Mr. Owens or Mr. Barnard or every one of you, and even Ms. Bunt has just come through the door. She's already made some comments about some things in the final hearings that we want to grab. And so what we did, recognizing that we had somewhat of a learning curve with new staff coming in working in this position, we created what we call this final hearing red book. And what this book is, and you will get your copy of this red book. In fact, when the DOMs meet with you prior to the final revocation hearing, they will use this. What this is, the objective of this book is to standardize all of the information that you are looking for, that you want to make sure that you've got right at your fingertips, right when you need it, and this keeps them on task with supporting you and what you need to make the best decision when you're hearing what's going on in this particular hearing. So what we want to do, this is our final draft copy based on our input from all of our DOMs and our leadership, and now what we're going to do is we're going to pass this on to you, and the first one will be this week, Mr. Barnard, when Brian Morgan will be using this book to not only brief you, but to go through the hearing. Now, the objective clearly is this right here. We need more feedback from you. We need more guidance from you. And we know this will be a continuous, ongoing project because we know by far this book is not complete. There will be changes. There will be things that we need to make sure that you've got the right information available when you need it and when you want it. So just know this, when you see and you hear the Red Book, you'll know exactly what's going on with that. It's just another one of our efforts to be more customer service oriented and support you in what you're doing in managing these final hearings. Any questions on that so far, Board?
That's a fantastic idea and initiative, and I applaud you for that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We are seeking input from you. We recognize clearly that this is a new division, and we by far do not have all the answers, and we're learning every day. And so what we want to do again is to bring a more consolidated effort to bear on this thing. And speaking of our DOMs, I want to recognize too, if you'll stand on your feet, TG, Miss Derica. We got two I want to introduce to you on your right over here. Thomas Green, he began his career in 2005 with the Georgia Department of Corrections as a probation officer. It took a while for us to get over that, but we've accepted him in. He's done well. In fact, when they hired him, when he came to work for the parole board initially and he went to basic, you know, we were a little worried about it, but he did finish top of the class in his parole basic class, and so we clearly want to recognize him. He quickly transitioned from a basic parole officer to a specialized parole officer and a senior parole officer. He has done each one of those positions and then quickly rose to the position of assistant chief up in the Cobb circuit as well. We hired him most recently, and we welcome him aboard. Okay, anything you'd like to say there, Tom?
I never left, by the way. I got loaned out for a year.
He said he wouldn't leave even though we got new shotguns. He still wouldn't leave. He was staying. So thank you, Thomas. Anything you'd like to say?
No, sir.
All right. Graduate of Georgia Southern.
Go Eagles.
I was going to give you that opportunity. I was terminated. Screaming Eagles, right? You can have a seat, Thomas. Thank you. And then our shooting star right here. This is Miss Derica Barnes. We're excited to have her. She is she's so new, she still shines. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. She is a recent, 2012.
Really?
Quickly rose through the ranks at every position, everywhere she's been. She was a shining star in DeKalb. And when we started looking around, we knew we were going to add on another district operations manager. She had interviewed with us, and she came out number 2 out of the top 3. We were like, you know what? I was like, you know, Felicia, she sure is young. She sure is fresh. Felicia said, listen, she is sharp as a tack. She is a great decision maker. She finished out number 2. So I said, well, listen, ask her if she'd consider coming in and shadowing district operations managers on her time. On her time. And see if she's really interested in this. Or we couldn't shake her loose. She was in here, she would have been here on weekends if you'd have been having hearings. And so we interviewed for our next vacant position. She blew away the board. She came out number 1. We're excited to have her. She's got her master's degree in counseling. She is now currently in post-IT. In fact, she just finished her first week. Came out number 2 overall in the class. Wow. We're excited for that. In fact, 50% of our DOMs now are post-IT certified. The objective is, it's one of our short-term goals, is that every one of them will be post-IT certified, as that one of their primary roles now is working in the field, collaborating with DCS, and helping them manage this learning curve of bringing additional staff on. Any questions about any of that? Derek, you have anything you'd like to say?
Just happy to be back with you. Thank you.
We're excited to have you.
So tell us, how many DOMs do you have now in your?
9. Our initial objective when we first briefed the board on that in our transition, because we really didn't know what we would need. We really did not know. We clearly recognized that DCS had 10 circuits that around the state, and we wanted to overlay those circuits. But at that time, it was so new, the transition, we really did not recognize fully the demand that would be placed on that position itself. But when we quickly started to learn that there were some efficiencies that needed to be leveraged, there were some proficiencies that we needed to obtain, so then we began to look at it from a more of a people, processes, and an IT standpoint, and we recognized that we were deficient in the support staff role of that. So, very quickly.
Excellent job.
Yes, sir. Last thing I would be remiss in saying, Jen, I want you to stand back up. I want you to stand back up. Yesterday we had our quarterly division meeting over at 11 West. I would encourage you, when you get a second, go over and look at the new boardroom, training room that we have over there. Our meeting room that you will be seeing and spending some time in as we continue to use it for training purposes. It's on 11 West over by personnel in that area over there. Would encourage you to stop by and look at that. Yesterday we had our full division meeting for field services, and some statistics came out in that meeting. We have challenged all of our staff in field services. It's all about high standards. It's about standards of excellence, and I would have had to overflow this room to bring that entire team in. They telework on Wednesdays, and that's why a lot of these proficiencies have been met. I want to tell you, our warrant entry team of 3 people, Melanie Register, Kathy Charles, and Joyce Terry. I'm excited to tell you that obviously our goal for warrant entry and error rate is 0%. They're all entered within 8 hours. When warrants are approved, they're entered within 8 hours. They're reviewed within 24 hours once a warrant is entered. And our goal for error rate was 0%. I can tell you we're at 1 or below % right now. That is a dramatic improvement in those 3 ladies and what they've been able to pull off. And I wanted to recognize them and Miss Jennifer leading that team. A second area I wanted to quickly mention is revocation packages that go to GDC Offender Administration. I can tell you this, that on average we were in the 10 to 14 day range to have those reviewed, completed, ensure they were where they needed to be, and then copied and then received by Offender Administration down at Jackson. I can tell you now, having challenged those ladies and under the leadership of Miss Jenna James over here, they're now at a maximum of 3 days. Our goal is 2 days, 2 business days. They're now completing that. Offender Administration has those packages within 3 days. So outstanding job by Lisa Markley and Catherine Denise Jones, also known as CD. We appreciate her. Interstate Compact, right quick, like I just want to throw out a couple of numbers for you. Incoming cases this year up to this point, 1,395 incoming into Georgia on parole, and outgoing is 2,672 on parole going out of the state. This is a number we've added to our dashboard reports that you'll be getting copies of as well, coming out of admin ops in field services. I will tell you this, the remarkable thing about the whole thing is that we have 1 staff member. It went from 3 staff member to 1 staff member. We have 1 staff member, and in fact, her name is Miss Tamika Porter. I'm sure most of you know Tamika, and she has absolutely done the work of 2 staff members. 2/3 of the production that was being done by those 3, she does by herself at this point. An outstanding job, and we wanted to recognize her as well. I'm going to kind of leave my last one to our executive director, Miss Joya Neal, but I do want to recognize her right quick. Thank you, Miss Jenna. Miss Joya, come on, stand on that before I turn this thing up.
Rick,
Yes, sir.
before you leave Janice's area, a question just sort of come in my mind. I know that when you said there was 2672 that are actually going out of the state, 1,395 coming in from other states that we're supervising. And I know sometimes Georgia has to look at our EM, so some states don't actually have EM, so we have to waive those under provisional reasons. I'm just curious about other states which come into us of the 1,395. Do we actually then insist on electronic monitoring, since that some states may actually not make that as a condition? How do we handle that?
Ms. Jenna, I want to yield to our expert. In fact, she is the Deputy Administrator of Interstate Compact as well. Go ahead, Ms. Jenna.
What we do is we review the packets that come in, the transfer packets that come in, we look at the effect events and the criminal history of the offender and make the determination right then to make a recommendation to the field that that offender be placed on the unit. And we in turn let the other state know that that offender is going to be supervised on the unit. So we follow the same protocol that we go for our own.
I got you. So you will make the recommendation even though the other state may not have made that as a condition.
That's correct.
Good, thank you.
As we continue to evolve our indicators, Chairman, would that be something that you would like to see and the board would like to see on our indicators, is how many that are transferred in-state or currently on electronic monitoring? Would that be something that you would?
We'll talk about that a little bit
Okay.
more in the
All
future,
right.
determine if that's something that we might refine that a little bit more.
All right, outstanding. Any other questions? Appreciate your time.
You have
We do.
you have another person that I interrupted you on.
No, we're good. I wanted to recognize her,
Okay.
but our executive director has got something he wants to recognize her also about.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I'm gonna yield the rest of my time.
Great job, Rick. I would like to piggyback off two things that Rick brought up, and one is, you heard him talk about we are now at 9 district operations managers. When we started this thing a year ago, we were at 5. So we've increased our district operations managers by 4. We've also added 2 additional hearing examiner positions during that same time, and we've added 4 criminal investigative positions during that same time. So we're really talking about 10 professional level positions that we've added in a little bit over a year's time, all through internal efficiencies. Not a single new dollar from the state. All of this was achieved by looking internally, and as a position comes available through retirement, transfer, or otherwise, looking at that position and making a determination, do we need that position where it is, or would that position be more beneficial in another area? Sometimes it's taken us where we've had to take 2 administrative positions, put them together, upgrade one of them to account for one of those professional level positions. That is why OPB is backing us on this initial request, because they have seen the internal efficiencies that we brought to bear over the last year, that we are not just looking to them to solve our problem, but we're looking internally to increase our efficiencies. Second is about the post-IT training. It could not be accomplished without our partners. I'd like to recognize the Department of Corrections, the Department of Juvenile Justice, as well as the Georgia Public Safety Training Center. All have opened up their doors and their post-IT seats, which are very valuable seats across the state, to us. And with that, I think in the last year we have put 7 people through post-IT, and we continue down that track. So great job. Great report out, Rick. At this time, I would ask our Director of Victim Services, Shalanda Robertson.
Morning.
Good morning.
Well, I have one staff member from the Office of Victim Services present, Ms. Anais Tucker. But as Rick said, Chris is going to talk about why she's here today. But yeah, Chris gets to talk about her. Along the lines of talking about post-IT, Kier Chappell, the Assistant Director of Victim Services, is also in the same class that Derica was in. And I heard Rick say that Derica was number 2 in the class. Well,
So let me
Kier
guess
Chappell
for Kier.
is number 1 in the class.
Thank you for pointing that out.
He's not here today because this is the 2nd week of the training, so he's working on his lesson plan. Also would like to announce the newest member of the Office of Victim Services, which is baby Evelyn Rose Andrus. Tom Andrus' wife gave birth to a baby girl on yesterday, which was my mother's birthday. And so that's why Thomas isn't here. You won't see him next week at Victim Visitors Day either. Now, the big thing, I know you're all waiting to hear about Victim Visitors Day. This is the last Victim Visitors Day for this year. We're going to be at the Okmulgee Judicial Circuit with District Attorney Stephen Bradley. And the Oglala Judicial Circuit is made up of 8 counties, and we're expecting the sheriffs from those 8 counties to be present during the opening ceremony. It's going to be at the Central Georgia Technical College at the Milledgeville campus, and that's at 54 Georgia Highway 22 in Milledgeville. And that's next Thursday, October 13th. The opening ceremony will start at 10 a.m., and we're hoping that we will conclude the opening ceremony no later than about 11 o'clock. This one will be a little different, where you may be used to one victim speaker. Well, D.A. Bradley had a difficult time in selecting a speaker for the event, so for this one, he's actually selected 4 victim speakers. They're high-profile cases from his area, from the different counties in that area. So we're still hoping that we can keep the ceremony within an hour time frame. After the ceremony, we will have about 30 minutes that's planned for the board to actually meet with the sheriffs and the DA. They want to talk to you guys kind of one-on-one. And then the appointments will start at 11:30. We have, as of this morning, we have 174 victims planning to attend, representing 64 cases. Usually around this time, it's like a week out, the numbers will start picking up. So you may want to plan to expect to have about 75 appointments for the day. We're hoping to finish by 6 p.m., but of course, as always, we plan to be there until every victim is seen on that day. And that's all I have.
I got a question. What do you reckon the sheriff's going to talk about?
That I'm not sure. D.A. Bradley.
You're not sure?
No, I'm not sure. Hopefully they're welcoming the board to their area. This is the first time that we're going to be in Milledgeville, covering those 8 counties. So, but the thing about it, we set aside that 30 minutes, but with 4 victim speakers for that day, I'm not so sure if they're going to have that entire 30 minutes. It may be 10 minutes. D.A. Bradley and I have already talked about that the day is set aside for victims, for crime victims, and so we don't want anything to take away from that. And so with the victims speaking, I'm just not so certain that 30 minutes, they're going to have that entire 30 minutes. But he wanted them to be there, wanted them to have the opportunity to be present. We also included them and their information in our booklet, so hopefully they'll be happy with that.
It's my understanding is that the DA actually invited the sheriffs from his district. They didn't actually ask for this, but it was actually on the invitation of the DA. Is that
yes,
correct?
Yes, sir. He invited them as well as the chiefs of police from his area. He said he wanted to be all inclusive. Sheriff Massey, the sheriff of Baldwin County, is actually participating on the program, just kind of from the law enforcement representative, and he's included in the booklet as well. I would like to say this is one of the first times that, with the exception of Brunswick, where we've had a DA to be so actively involved in the process. The initial meeting, he was there. He wanted to know the numbers, wanted to know how many victims he had registered from his judicial circuit, which wasn't really high. So he was concerned about that. And since that time, we've kind of put some processes in place so we can help his advocates throughout that circuit to get more of their victims registered. We went down, we did the initial walkthrough, he was there. Back on another occasion, he was there. So he is actively involved with this process. So he's looking forward to us coming to his area. Any other questions?
As a matter of fact. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shalandra. And I'll hopefully I won't speak out of turn. Shalandra told me over the last year she has finally gotten fully staffed in victim service.
Wow.
First time in a number of years where she's had staff. And of course she's always looking. Of course she's always looking for some more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
This is the first time that the Office of Victim Services has had as many staff members. I've been doing this since 2003, and currently today we have 10 staff members. But with the thanks of the agencies that we represent, we have 2 representatives from the Department of Corrections, 2 from DCS, and 2 from the parole board, and the others are made up of actual victim service. So this is the first time we had that.
And it's amazing what those 10 individuals accomplish in the state of Georgia when it comes to victims. Not only here in the state, but it's recognized nationally. Felicia Shalandra just came back from a conference out in Colorado and could not walk down the hallways without victim advocates from other states coming up to her and asking her what we're doing in Georgia, because we've always been on the cutting edge. And a lot of that falls directly to Shalandra and her group. So thank you for all your support and service. And then, at this time, I'm going to ask Iris McKinnon to come up and talk about our statewide charitable contribution program. It's my best.
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning.
Board members, all of you guys. We launched our state charitable contribution campaign back in August. We started it out with Corn Wars and Jean and Jersey Days. We've done well in those areas. And then on August 18th, we had a bake-off and bake sale where we did pretty good with those. The combination of the jeans and the corns and the bake sale up until now, we've raised almost $500 for that, and it's ongoing. We have different units that are competing with each other to see who can save the most coins, and at the end we'll have a winner. Last month, August, we kicked off a tailgate, and thanks to the support of our PAP staff, they come together. We have such an awesome team of employees here. They all come together and we donate these items, and then we turn around and sell these same items. And you know, a lot of us, we donate and then we turn around and purchase what we donate. But in doing that, we come together, and during that tailgate, that one event, we sold $500 worth of hot dogs. That is great, you know. And so forthcoming, we have the chili and soup cook-off that's coming up in November. And this is October, and then in November we have a bazaar where we're going to have tables. We're going to be able to rent a table, and you can sell any items from things that you may sell in a garage sale. I know Carolyn Brown has some hot pocketbooks that she's interested in selling, so we're looking forward to raising as much money as we can to support our local charities. One of the goals of the governors was for us to have not so much as the money, but the participation. The goal is to have 100% participation. And based on the statistics and what I see now, partisan paroles is going to exceed the 100% participation. And hats off to our PAP staff. And that's about it.
Thank you.
All
Great job.
right.
Thank you, Iris. And when she said Carolyn Brown had some hot pocketbooks, she didn't reference that they were stolen. They were just hot. They were trending pocketbooks as opposed to hot.
They probably were stolen.
Yeah. I'm just saying, there's a lot of cameras and recording going on here. Just want to make sure everybody's clear on that. Moving along, I would like to recognize our court board liaison, Harris Childers from the Department of Community Supervision, is here with us today. I spoke with him yesterday evening. He said, don't put me on the spot, so of course I'm going to put him on the spot. Anything you would like to say to the board? Or?
Not today, just thank you.
Thanks for being here, Harris.
Harris has done a tremendous job since taking the position almost 2 months, 3 months now? Thanks, Harry. I appreciate you. But he's done a great job being that bridge of communication between the board and Department of Community Supervision. I hope from the operational updates that you've heard from the divisional directors as well as our human resources, you can see that we continue to work to strive to achieve the board's mission. And we're doing that through what we call our operational priorities, our 4 E's. Engaging our staff, educating our stakeholders, eliciting their active participation, and by doing those 3 things, we achieve the fourth E, and that is enhancing our operations. Since our last board meeting, just to highlight some of those enhancements that we brought on board, we've implemented evidence-based case processing fully in the CON system now. All stakeholder impact and protest considerations are now done electronically. We made a milestone this year where all inmate considerations are done electronically with our lifers going online. Now our protest impact letters, they are all now being considered online as well. We continue to engage our staff and have begun training all of our staff in CPR and AED certification training. But our goal is by the end of this year, calendar year, every single one of our staff members will be certified in CPR and AED. While, it may be unlikely that it occurs here, certainly that training and certification can save somebody else's life, maybe even a family member of one of our staff members. I'd also like to take a minute to recognize just a few of our staff members who have taken up the opportunity provided to continue their college education. And with that, I think everybody's kind of talked about it already, but Anais Tucker, if you will, please stand up. Joya Neal and Susan Ruffin. All 3 are currently enrolled in college through the PMP program and trying to achieve their college degree while working full-time for us and doing a great job. So I would just like to recognize y'all and thank y'all. Great job, great job. We continue to engage our community and our community stakeholders. We've had our 2nd run at the Little Libraries. That is a project that we teamed up with. I believe Ms. Bunn accompanied us down to Southwest Georgia, and we filled our 3 little libraries with new books. These are little libraries that we put in rural communities or underserved communities that don't have ready access to good books. We donate the boxes, we donate the books, and the kids come and get the books. They can keep the books, they can bring them back so other kids can get them. And all of that has been done through donation. I think Ms. Cloud will say that she still has an office full of donated books, that we will continue this project for years to come. We've done our back to school drive, did a fantastic job with that. We had our super senior coast to coast run where a 92-year-old vet ran from coast to coast, and we actually had one of our criminal investigators run a few miles with him and enjoying that. We did our Kaiser Permanente run. We have some upcoming events. As one I have been asked to attend and speak at is the DBHDD Race for Recovery, which Ms. Erica Johnson is coordinating for the board. And I look forward to that. My goal will be to make sure everybody finishes. I'll be at the back making sure nobody finished behind me. We also are still actively involved in the Mobile Food Pantry volunteer program. As we approach Thanksgiving, we will again, like we did last year, look to put together 2 Thanksgiving dinners and deliver them personally to families in need. And we also have our Santa Christmas gift drive. Many of these community outreach projects were coordinated or facilitated by our community outreach coordinator, Ms. Anita Cloud. Her efforts were recognized this past summer at the GPACS conference in Savannah, where she received the first annual Patrick Price Community Impact Award. And I'd like to just have Miss Anita Cloud come up and be recognized by the board for all that she does for the State Board of Parole and the communities in Georgia.
like to say that none of this would have been possible without the parole board team. I only facilitated, but most of the activities were taken. I mean, they did it all for us and represented the agency well. So I thank you for the opportunity to serve in this capacity, and I look forward to more exciting things such as Captain America and the Boo Spectacular and Drop It Like It's Hot. So a lot of exciting things. Oh, sorry. A lot of exciting things as part of our Halloween event to just bring us all together. We enjoy where we work, but sometimes we all need to come together to have fun in-house, you know, and learn to love on each other a little bit. So again, I just thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Chris.
Chris, before Nita, would you stand just a little bit longer? I want to say personally thank you for what you do for us. You do a lot of things, and a lot of things which mean so much to us and victims and just about everybody imaginable. And even in your quasi-counseling work as a chaplain, we appreciate that. I don't think the board's ever officially named a chaplain. And if I'm not out of order, Chris, can we now take this time to actually officially name Anita Cloud as the board's chaplain?
At the board's pleasure.
It's a pleasure of the board to name Ms. Cloud our chaplain. No opposed. You are officially our chaplain, and we appreciate that. We are all men and women of prayer. We understand how powerful that is. And before you depart, would you actually pray for this agency and pray for the work that we do and pray for the lives that we touch at this time?
I am honored. Thank you, sir. Let us bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we just take a moment today to thank you for just being who you are, for being omniscient, omnipresent, always seeing, always knowing, Father God, what we need and providing those needs. We take a moment to ask that you forgive us of all of our sins by thoughts, word, and deed. Then we ask that you bless the work that you've established our hands to do. Bless this agency, bless our families, Father God, and put us in places where we will be an asset to not only you, but to this agency. Now we ask a blessing upon our country, upon our nation, and upon our state. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Anita, for your prayers.
Congratulations. Fantastic. As we continue to engage our criminal justice partners and community stakeholders, the leadership team have continued to meet with legislators, judges, sheriffs, mayors, city and county commissioners, DAs, community leaders, Rotary clubs, reverends, faith leaders, and talking about parole and how parole enhances public safety throughout the state of Georgia. We have attended the Georgia Judges Association Conference, the Georgia Commission on Family Violence Conference, the APPA, GCIC Training Conference, Noble Conference, Victim Services Training Conference, Human Resource Training Symposium, and the Financial/Budgeting Conference going on this week in Savannah. We've been busy. We have been busy. We will have our senior offsite meeting this week where the focus will be on each unit's role in the way ahead for the board and how we can continue to achieve that board mission that we hold so dearly. Following the senior offsite, we have been invited to present at the DA's Association Conference Friday at Brasstown Valley. We will be presenting the current recommendations regarding our updated parole board guidelines. The hope is to complete this vetting process by the end of the year and then present it to the board through the Administrative Procedures Act for formal adoption after the first of the year. We've also been invited to present to the Criminal Justice Reform Council on October the 13th at 1 p.m. regarding the role of parole in Georgia and how it enhances public safety. We've also been invited to present at the Criminal Defense Attorneys Association Conference on November the 4th, 2016, again, to educate on the parole process and provide that engagement of our stakeholders. In each of these presentations, we seek to engage, educate, elicit our stakeholders into active participation, all by which we will continue to enhance the parole process here in Georgia. With that, that will conclude my comments. with the exception of any questions y'all may have.
Any questions? Excellent report.
Thank y'all very
A lot of good
much.
stuff going on. Okay, we're getting close to adjournment, but at this time I will open the floor open for public comments. But I will mention that the board will not hear public comments on any specific offender at this time, but if you have comments or questions on a specific offender, we have a contact number for you, which is 404-656-4661 to make those comments. But if there's any comment that you want to make on any item that was discussed in today's meeting, now is your time. Any comments? Doesn't look like there's any comments, so our next order of business is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
There is a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are now adjourned. Thank you much.